for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network.
All right. Good evening, Fade to Black. Today's Tuesday, December 13th, 2022. Our guest tonight, Reuben Langdon. Reuben, actor, stunt person, politically correct, researcher, director, smart guy. He is with us tonight, and this conversation, I can never predict with Reuben where it is going to go. I wanted to stay channeling centric tonight, and we shall see what happens with Reuben Langdon. Reuben, welcome back to Fade to Black, my friend. How you doing?
Doing good, Jimmy. Thanks for having me. Appreciate you having me on again. It's always a good time.
Yes, it is. You're the absolute very best. And Reuben, I actually want to just get straight to it tonight. And let me start with this. That as you know, and certainly this audience knows, I look at everything, but one of the most fascinating things that I can look at is science and physics. And the reason for that is, first off, I failed at science and everything else with it academically, and I wish that when I was younger, I applied myself more to it than Van Halen guitars and the other things that distracted me as a teenager. But here's the thing with that. As I interview people and collect this knowledge and read the books and do the studying, and I've done thousands of shows and all of that, it's science that I go back to look at these other things. And so when I look at something like channeling, I think it's one of the most fascinating subjects out there, but it's science that pulls me to that. Not my mom and her weirdness when I was a kid and automatic writing which I think is a form of channeling, right? And
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so there's that part of it. But it's what science today is telling me. Not only, I hate the word quantum today because everything is quantum. You have quantum coffee makers, right?
Yeah.
Whatever. Everything is quantum. And but it is that part of physics, but it is the theoretical stuff, and it's also the hard sciences too as well. So that's why I'm interested in your research and what you do, but it's the science that pulls me to Reuben Langdon. So when I and I'm being very serious about that. Okay. So with that kind of introduction, what is channeling?
Okay. When it comes to science, I think we still have a long ways to go before science catches up with the phenomenon of channeling. We're not far, but the consensus of the scientific community is still far. If you had, it's funny, you had a guest yesterday, Dr. Nolan, who I had met a few years ago at the IONS. I think I was at the IONS Institute that Edgar Mitchell had put on. So he came together with Jacques Vallee, and Jacques was doing a talk, and I had presented the idea of channeling to both of them. I'd brought it up in a conversation, and both Jacques and Gary were sort of poo-pooing the idea and against it. So, and I know they're both, coming from that standard scientific play.
Oh, we just lost you.
There's a lot.
Okay, we just lost
sorry.
you at the front of the show.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay,
Let me
all
make
right.
sure
So,
my internet's showing strong. I'll repeat. Where do we lose you?
okay, back up 10 seconds. So you're
Okay.
with Jacques Vallee. They're poo-pooing the idea, and
Yeah. So Jock and both Gary were both sort of poo-pooing the idea, but at the same time, I try to challenge intelligent minds like Gary and Jock, because they do go out there, as Gary even mentioned on yesterday's show, that you have to sort of be brave and go outside of the box, and you might get laughed at. But if you don't try, you're not going to know. So I kind of use that same mentality and thinking to challenge these guys. Hey, I know there's a comfortable box. The scientific box is comfortable for guys like that, and they're on the cutting edge of that, obviously, with the invisible college and everything that Gary was talking about yesterday. But there is this extra, if you look at the evidence and if you actually look at the phenomenon, I believe there's plenty of compelling evidence that shows that the phenomenon is measurable and can be scientifically looked at through that lens. It just hasn't been done yet before. So more studies, more research. Daryl did a great example with the EEG machine in his documentary, where you're seeing different types of brain waves, gamma waves, and stuff coming out of the mind.
Talking about Daryl Anka.
Daryl Anka, yeah.
Yeah, and you're right. That was a very compelling part of that film. It was extraordinary. Caroline Corey has said a lot in this part too, except you didn't answer the question. So let me ask it again.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry, I get off track. Easy.
What is channeling?
Channeling is the adjustment of one's vibrational frequency to match another frequency and become an instrument, become a radio, which we're doing automatically already. But that's consciously choosing to go into an altered state. So and putting your brain literally in a different state so it can receive these messages from other dimensions, other realms. And these are things we do all the time anyways. We do it when we sleep. We do it when we're in the the zone, right? The athletes have the sweet spot. They're in this trance, this what do they call it? I guess the zone, but there's other names and for it. But it's the same thing. It's all in that same idea of shifting your frequency, your vibration of not only your mind, but your whole body. Some people do breath work and different things to access, meditators, monks, and these kinds of things to access this other information from other realms.
Now, when we talk about channelers, we have to talk about Jane Roberts, of course, and Seth Speaks. Was there evidence of that? I mean, was Edgar Casey a channeler? And then if we look at that, and it seems like we're going, but I mean, and I mentioned this last night with Nolan, was Da Vinci a channeler? Where if you go back and you look throughout history, where you had so many, not only philosophers, but creators and leaders that would talk about, getting information from somewhere else. And I always thought to myself that they were channeling, and maybe not using that word, but they were trying to share with everybody, how they got it and where it came from.
Yeah, I would say, I think art is channeling. Artists are the we have a huge population of artists on the planet, and I think they are the forefront of the channeling phenomenon. We're pulling ideas, Nikola Tesla. We're pulling ideas from another dimension, and we're bringing it into this realm, and then we're figuring out what to do with that. We're trying to make sense of it. but it literally is ideas, concepts, physical structures, inventions, information from a philosophical standpoint, whatever it is, and however form it shows up, it's all channeling. We're all multidimensional beings, and we're all capable of falling into these flow states and getting this information and bringing it back. That's all channeling is.
You brought up Jacques Vallee, and I a couple of months ago, I was in a deep hours long private conversation with him. And one of the things, and Jacques, I apologize if I'm discussing something privately or something that you haven't discussed publicly, but this is what he said. One thing to me that stopped me, I mean, dead in my tracks. He said when he was running around with the SRI guys, 1972, 73, 74, and was deep in that culture that was going on in and around San Francisco back then, that he remote viewed. And I said, what? Right? What did you? But this was his thing. He said, I couldn't believe it, and I feel that not only is there something going on and something that we need to look at with science, but that I felt that if I just applied myself, I was a busy person, but if I applied myself, I could have gotten really, really good at it. And that was an extraordinary thing, coming from Jacques, and we all respect Jacques, and he's got this, this very analytical, pragmatic, mindset to him. And then he turns around and says, man, I remote viewed.
Yeah. And a lot of Jacques, I remember at that IONS gathering, he was talking about sort of synchronicities and coincidences. And I think he called it the twin sisters or something sisters, the phenomenon. He was very elegant in the way he presents it. He speaks so well. And he had he was talking about the synchronicities, how he like a book fell off the shelf and he opened the book and there was this on this chapter and this thing. And I forget all the details, but it was literally related to something else that had happened. And like somebody had passed away, and the odds of that passage and reading that page at that paragraph and the book opening at that period. So, Jacques has a lot of these unexplainable events, and the whole phenomenon, obviously we're still trying to figure it out, and it's unexplainable, but he has these belief systems that are opening the door to like, yeah, there's something really strange here, but he still again, when it comes to talking publicly about channeling or some other sort of out there phenomenon, he goes so far. I think he's got his people he works with in groups in the scientific community, obviously, that he's trying to hold up, a certain amount of integrity, and they're probably not ready for certain things. So he's got to keep the pulse at a certain level in order to continue relationships and those things. But I love the guy, because I think he is very possible for really thinking outside the box and going out there, especially for a guy his age. And then at the same time, we all love him and respect him for his brave willingness to investigate these things through a hard scientific mind and cutting away all the BS and the possible things. So Jacques is a unique, he's in a unique position, as well as many scientists who, some are studying this phenomenon seriously and some are choosing to put their focus in other places.
Is there a way, if we can discuss the science part of this too as well, measurement and validation and repeating stuff is the way to go. I mean, for all of us, so we can feel more confident about it. But how do we look at which channeling is real? That's the word. Okay. Which is, and what is BS? And at this point, how do we determine that? Is it just discernment?
At this point, I think that's the key, is discernment. I think we all should remember and realize that even the best of channelers, they're messengers. Bashar, right? The Bashar name even means messenger. So it's coming through an individual, Daryl Anka or Elisa Royale, or we have a plethora. We just watched my show, plethora of channelers, really capable, awesome channelers. But they're still coming. The messages are still coming through an individual with individual beliefs and an individual outlook on the world, and in a vocabulary that is limited to that individual. So we're getting diluted messages, and the individual has to be of a frequency to match the message. So there is a compatibility there in that sense. Daryl says all the time, what you put out is what you get back. That frequency that you're emoting is what you attract. So if you're full of negativity and down and out and doom and gloom, then you probably might be, or it's a high probability you might be attracting some doom and gloom messages and some not so positive of the light energies. And this is where I think the best channelers that sort of stay in integrity and do the work themselves and are constantly doing the spiritual work are the best channelers, because they're tuning their instrument, right? They're never getting too complacent. But through our lens of viewing this channeling phenomenon, using discernment and knowing that the person, the individual that's delivering the messages, they're not perfect. These people are still people. They're not gods. They're not somebody that we should idolize and put on a totem or anything like that. And they'll say it. The best channelers are the ones they'll say it. They're like, I'm just the messenger, take it or leave it. The message is there, and we can use it if we want. So always using discernment when listening to these messages. If it resonates with you, if this person and the message that's coming through from the Pleiadians or from Sirius or from the Sasani or wherever it's coming from, if that resonates with you individually, then take that. The famous Bruce Lee quote, take what is useless, or takes what is useful, and make it useful for yourself and create and make it your own, and disregard what doesn't work for yourself. So that's my message.
Yeah. And I've been very lucky to have been able to hang out with Daryl Anka as much as I have. I've introduced him at many conferences and have assisted in the Bashar channeling sessions, and so I take that. I'm actually going to compare that to Jane Roberts, because when you look at the Seth materials and you listen to Jane as Jane, and then you listen to Jane, there's a lot of it out there for you to be able to go and listen to and study. And then you listen to the Seth material coming from her. It's obviously two different things going on there, two completely independent things. And you read the Seth material or you listen to her, and it's extraordinary, but it's two different minds. When you hear her speak, the Jane Roberts, she's just Jane, right? She's just Jane. Seth is a whole other animal. And it's the same thing with Daryl Anka, right? Yeah. Daryl's a great guy, but he's either the most gifted actor, genius level actor on planet Earth, or what he is doing is real. Because I can stand back and listen. He's answering questions, right? You've seen it done, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's got people stepping up to the mic. I'm there. I'm literally going, okay, you're next, right? I'm right there, and I'm watching this go down. And I'm listening to every word. There is something going on there, Reuben, and his words and the advice. He's giving advice. He's giving advice, and it's perfect. It's
great.
perfect. It's you know what I mean? And are they just at another level, and then there's everybody else?
Well, Daryl is an exceptional channel. Unlike, I mean, there's very few that are in that category. For someone doing it as long as he has been doing it, the consistency, the positive advice that comes through and can help people. And I've taken that advice and I've changed my life completely around. So, the advice works. He's saying good stuff. He is a bit of an anomaly. What I've seen through my work, doing the show and bringing in all these channelers, is that the Seths, the Daryls, and even the Rob Gauthier is a bit of
He's amazing. He's an amazing channel.
Yeah, he's on this last leg of this deep trance. Most of the channelers now don't have to go as deep. The personalities aren't as extreme, and what we're getting now is people sort of going into their trance, but they're still present. They're still aware. Where I don't know about Seth or Jane Roberts, but I know for Daryl and for Rob, they sort of black out. They're not fully. They get a sense of what was spoken about, but there's not a good memory of everything that was said in the process, in the channeling session. Most of the other channelers that I'm talking to, especially the more the up and coming ones, like the other day on my show, I had Tyler Ellison, who also channels a Sasani being, very much in the nuance and flavor of Bashar and Daryl. Mm-hmm. But he's sort of aware. He's not fully checked out like Daryl is. He's kind of in the back seat listening to what's happening, and is not driving the ship, so to say. Is these are their words, how they perceive the channeling phenomenon, but definitely able to snap out of it at any time, or is sort of aware of the conversation and can regurgitate the conversation afterwards. And I think that has to do with the density level of the planet and our evolution, and how we're talking on your show a lot. In my show, we talk about this big shift that's happening with humanity and going into this higher density. And I think that as the planet shifts and the energy shifts, it's easier to tap into these other dimensions and to be the artist, to get this information from other dimensions and pull it through. We have quantum computing, which is essentially channeling. And that if you hear a quantum computing physicist, scientist talking about how it works, they're describing channeling. It's literally
straight science fiction. Yeah,
we're using computers to peer into other worlds and process information that our ones and zero computers cannot handle. They're going into these other dimensions, looking at all these different probabilities, and they're doing equations in a new, unique, different way. And in a sense, that's channeling. They're bringing it back here. So now that we have access in our physical realm, and we're building machines that can do this, we're building AI in a sense. That is, what is AI? AI is in a sense, it's a channel. It's a machine that's able to channel information. And we think it's computating and making all of these computations to bring in this intelligence. And to a certain extent, it is the new Elon Musk DTI AI GPT-2, right? Or 3, or we have 3 or 4 now. I don't forget where we're at, right? But that I interviewed it's my next show, actually. I interviewed a scientist, a creator, one of the co-creators, or actually the creator of Brain Paint, Bill Scott, who used GPT-2 and added a couple of algorithms to it using fractal math. And the information coming from this AI was not much different. The answers coming from the AI was not much different than, say, a channeler, the way a channeler would answer questions and some of the way it would present it. So we're at this tipping point right now in humanity where we're raising the consciousness. And I think that's why we have so much activity in the planet too, with ET activity. We're getting to this peak where the veils are getting very thin, and channeling is becoming easier and easier.
What this is how I feel. If you and I are screwing around in Big Bear, right? Ship comes down.
Yeah, come on.
Being comes off the craft and starts talking to us. What is it that you and I and our monkey butts could say that would be smart? And right, whatever our smartness, right? What is it that we could say? And on the flip side, how would we understand or relate to the mind that is saying something to us, having to come down to our level, right? And it would just blow. And that is where channeling, I think that's a lot of the frustration that people have with it, where they go, wait, what? I don't understand. No, ask something direct. Where's the direct? No, it's at another level that we can't get frustrated if we don't understand it right away. Right? We can't. We have to look at it a little bit differently and understand what type of personality that we're talking to.
Well, when you say something smart, you mean something that would like catch the attention of the ET that came down or something?
That's the whole thing. There's nothing we could say that would catch their attention. What is it that seriously, I want you to think about that for a second. Sure. What is the smartest thing that you could say? What is it? Hello? Okay, that's probably, as fundamental as that sounds, that's about as smart as you can go. Where else are you going to go? What are you going to talk about?
Well, I think the I think asking the questions is the biggest sense of, just like, so watching Daryl and watching and being part of those sessions, right? So Daryl always has an answer, pretty much, or Bashar has an answer for even the stupidest questions, and which we would say, some people would say, oh, that's stupid or that's brilliant. So what I have learned from doing my exploration into this field is that the questions are key. The questions actually contain the answers, but the questions and the level of questioning gives a reading to, let's say, an extra dimensional being or whoever's coming through, Bashar or whatever, that is actually able to get a pulse on where we're at and what type of information we can handle, and then be able to find the most vibrationally accurate response for the question. And then,
yes, but, and I don't want to be argumentative here.
Sure.
But here it is. If you grabbed Benjamin Franklin, and he was on this screen participating in this conversation, listening to what you and I are saying right now, what could he add? Nothing. And what would he understand? I mean, just coming in with his knowledge set, smart guy, right? Smart dude coming into this, but there's nothing. What's he gonna?
Are you sure? I'd love to have a conversation with Benjamin Franklin. I think he would add some really good insights on things.
What's he gonna talk about? Lightning striking a kite?
Yeah, we could talk about our Constitution and how that's been violated and all the different things
and so what I'm suggesting here is you're talking about a vibrational, and a being from outer space and quantum computing and qubits and parallel worlds and how we get, he wouldn't even. What? Right?
Yeah. In that sense, that might be a little too much, but there are many wisdoms that we can still learn from from guys like Benjamin Franklin, or, even, and this is the beauty of all of this, to take somebody like a Benjamin Franklin or an extraterrestrial or somebody from an outside perspective. We're so caught up in our news and our media and what's going on right now and what's the latest on Jimmy Church, what's happening in the now moment with all the things that we have access to. Sometimes we lose sight of the bigger picture or an outside perspective, and it could be even what we perceive as an unevolved Benjamin Franklin. It could be that outside view that is the genius view that we need to have to get us through the next step. And that's what I found through my diving deep into indigenous teachings. And we see them as primitive, or, oh, they don't know what they're talking about. But diving deep into their history and their realms, and they also have this history of tapping into shamanism and channeling and
100%.
Different entities coming through. So
100%.
there's keys there that I think we should not look at. I think we should look at all of it and offer or welcome any types of perspectives that they could offer to us.
Yeah, there's no question about that. And the whole world knows. I just got back from Egypt, and you walk around these different sites and things. That part of it's a logistical thing. It's a physical thing. You're going to a temple and you're amazed, at its size and its artistic, aesthetics and things like that. But that's not what is special there. Well, it is, of course. I don't mean it like that. But it is that you understand very quickly, if you're looking for it, that they had a grip. They had a firm grip. They had a grip on the mind. They had a grip on philosophy. They had a grip on spirituality, and they understood things fully developed, fully upright about the human mind. They had it. They had it dialed, and it's a very impressive thing. Where the amnesia started, and how why. I'm going to be very fundamental here. Why they didn't get to the moon by 2000 BC is beyond me. They should have.
Well,
right?
maybe the moon wasn't.
But you
wasn't
understand
the goal.
what I'm saying. You understand what I'm saying.
Sure.
They were completely developed, man. Completely developed.
Yeah, and maybe they got to the moon in other ways. Maybe they got there.
That's yes. I don't argue that. I don't argue that at all, man. I did this thing. So you want to talk about what the ancients knew, and I wasn't making light of Ben Franklin. What I was suggesting is us listening to a couple of ETs talk about everyday stuff. What is it that we could relate to? They're going to be at a whole, just like us, you and I talking now. Could Ben Franklin or somebody else from 200, 300 years ago relate or even understand what we're talking about with internet speeds and qubits?
Oh, yeah. That stuff is probably going to.
and we would have the same thing, same issues with ET. But in Egypt, I'm going to make this really quick. At the Temple of Dendera in the back, I was taken by a priest to this area that is off limits to the public. We went to an underground pharaonic lake in the middle of the Sahara Desert. Descended stairs underneath the sand dunes, little 5 stories down, 6 stories down, 80 feet. I don't know, man. Long ways, man, down to an underground lake.
Wow.
Now, and I was told by the priest, this is where the pharaohs went to spiritually cleanse. What? Right? Kind of talking about baptism in a way, right? Anyway, go down in the complete darkness. Can't wear your shoes. You can't talk. And you go through this process, right? And now I want you to think about your personal experiences here that you and I have talked about privately. So think about your desert experiences, okay? So you go down and you do this thing. I'm in this lake in the dark. You come back up out of the darkness after cooling your body. There's a pineal gland, there's a DMT, adrenaline thing, and you come out and you hit the sunlight and the serotonin, melatonin, the chemistry, the electronics, the things that are shifting, and this thing. Now, you go through that, okay? Yeah. And now I come back to the States, right back to your point. This is why I want you to address this.
Okay.
The Egyptians knew about that process 5,000 years ago. We're just now, we can unpack that, right? We can go, well, the chemistry and the melatonin, the pineal and the DMT, this adrenaline exploding, the light and the light to the dark, and we can analyze this scientifically, right? But they knew it 5,000 years ago. There was a reason those pharaohs were going down those stairs, right? An underground lake. They had a grip. So, and to understand those processes where you do this now, you understand the opening of things in the brain, right? You understand these. They were doing this 5,000 years ago, Reuben.
Yep. Yeah. These are old techniques. And they were channeling, and they were seeking counsel with people who had abilities. There were in many cultures, in many regions throughout the world, we have, especially the ancient cultures, we have knowledge of people talking to other beings, or people facilitating these other beings coming through, the gods or whatever names they had, right? And
another, we're talking about dimensions, are we talking about access to another world, another parallel world, another dimension, and communicating with life that is on the other side that we can't see in our two-dimension, right, doofus mindset?
I mean, absolutely. Even the Dalai Lama still to this day has a number of oracles that he consults with that are true channelers. And a buddy of mine was working on a documentary about it, and brought in and showed me, and I was like, wow, does the world know that the Dalai Lama consults with oracles that are channeling information? And most people don't, but the hardcore people, followers, they know. It's not a secret, but it's quite common. It's common now, and then it was common in the past.
There are consultants that go to the Dalai Lama that are dealing with computer design, the design of the brain, quantum networks, and how things work, but they're trying to understand it, right? And trying to figure it out. They go to the Dalai Lama for those answers, right?
Yeah.
And I'm talking about, if CERN, Switzerland, Lawrence Livermore, Los Alamos, Google, Alphabet, man, right? They're going there to understand how this actually works, and I find that just totally amazing. And I've listened to a lot of the audio from these different meetings, and to listen to him speak to them on how all of this works is amazing. And they're taking notes, dude.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about it, if you look, I mean, everything's within nature, and that's the common thing we keep coming back to is the math in nature, the Fibonacci sequence. I know you had Robert Grant on the show, big fan of his work, and he's just finding all of these secrets in the Egyptian temples and Leonardo da Vinci's work, and but all of it is sort of laid out there in a natural way. a lot of these math codes and numbers and sequences. And that's sort of seen, and especially when it's sort of related to nature, right? We're sticking with that nature side of things. And there seems to be another camp that wants to bypass nature, that wants to go beyond or through or shortcut or control the nature, and using maybe different sets of math, different types of ways and modalities. But that method, that path, that this idea of transhumanism and things like that, there's a big cautionary. We're hearing all this conspiracies and things about going too far into that camp. So I feel this has been an eternal sort of battle between the natural way and the inorganic way, in a sense. And we're trying to find, as humanity, well, which direction are we going to go? How can we, which angle are we going to take? And I feel, going back to the ancient legends and lures of Atlantis, I feel that that's where we're sort of repeating a lot of the same mistakes that happened in that era, of going perhaps an unnatural way or trying to play God a little too much. And then we get into trouble, and then the cosmics, the universe, God, whoever you want to say, hits the let's send in the meteors and hit the reset button, and then we'll go for another 13,000 year cycle and see what happens, if they can get the lesson next time.
Such a great point. You're not going to manhandle nature.
No,
it's not going to happen. And you just take another sip. Take another sip.
Oh, take another sip. Okay.
Yeah, take another sip. You are drinking something that is 13 billion years old.
Pretty much. This has been on my adventures for a long time.
But most people don't understand that. Matter doesn't go away. So the matter that was created 13.5 billion years ago in this universe, and stars that have given up their lives and exploded and everything else, and we are stardust, you have to understand that concept really, really quick. If nature has got it that figured out, that you and I are made with 13 billion year old particles, right? We're not new particles. It doesn't work that way. And if you think that you are going to take control of that, you're not.
Right.
You're not. You need to work with it. That's all.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's just, it's just egos, and different people have different ideas and, discoveries, and they get excited. Oh, we could do this and splice this gene and make this thing and take the spike protein and do that with that. And, oh, maybe we should research that a little bit more before we've,
Now, let me drink my 13 billion year old coffee. Hold on for a second.
Isn't that good?
So, nature has figured out how to combine itself with 13 billion year old particles, and it tastes like this. I'm going to take control of that. No, you need to work with that. That's all.
Exactly. And I think, we're learning these lessons now. There's still, a number of people on the planet that, still, they're going to try to do what they can do in the name of science. And this is where we get into trouble when we start pulling the science card, is that, you have a guy like Fauci who says, I am science, right? And then, we see what kind of trouble that kind of mentality and idea has gotten humanity into the past couple of years. So I think it's a big lesson that we take a step back. We look at where we're at and how we are playing with nature in these ways. And, it's a constant reset. It's a constant reevaluation. And, what's the best way that we can be in harmony with nature and develop new technologies and new ways to help our evolution.
Well, how do we measure consciousness? How do we take it to the next step? I don't have any issues. I really don't. I don't have any issues with having an abscessed tooth and taking antibiotics to save my life.
Sure. Yeah. Antibiotics have been great.
Figured that out, right? And they beat nature, right? Where you've got something invasive that just wants to kill you so it can survive. And I appreciate that part.
Sure.
And the hard sciences, but the hard sciences have issues with consciousness, but yet they will tell you that a qubit in a quantum computer has an entanglement with another particle in a parallel world, and they are working together to process faster. It's like, wait, what? Okay, but what is consciousness? Nah, can't.
Right. That's the $10 million question: is why are these worlds so similar, but yet so many people are refusing to even look at the other side of the coin? Right, the other side of the coin.
Aren't we talking about the same thing here?
That's what I would assume. Now, to go, put on where's my tinfoil hat? Let me get my. I'm always wearing my tinfoil hat. Never mind. So there is this idea that the so-called scientific community is purposely excluding certain concepts and ideas to deter people from looking down a certain path because they're afraid of what they might discover. And I've seen that. You can definitely see certain bias in the sharing and disseminating of information, but not everybody. Obviously, I'm not saying everybody's like that, but there are those out there that perhaps know a little more than they let on to know, and they intentionally close doors to keep people from looking down certain paths because they know if you go down some of those paths, then it could lead to some extraordinary discoveries that could free humanity from, let's say, its dependence on oil, or from its dependence on how we buy and sell and trade electricity. So, there's those aspects as well. I mean, look at Nikola Tesla. Look at all of his inventions, and look at how many have been, how many patents he has. But then, how many has humanity not seen? How much information is behind the closed door that the FBI took, after his death? A lot of that information hasn't made it out, and a lot of other amazing inventors who seem to be peering into these other dimensions, getting this information, have been shunned or silenced or unable to explore their downloads, because the scientific community is so rigid in its ideologies and ways. Dogma. There's a lot of dogma in the scientific community.
It's all dogma. It's all dogma.
Pretty much, yeah. And I mean, I'm not dogging on the on the scientific method. Now, that's an amazing method, and I'm a huge fan of science, and I know you are too. And I don't think I don't mean to come at the scientific community in the methodologies and try to poo-poo any of that stuff. It's there. It's great. It's awesome, and it's great reference. But there are those barriers that have been in the community, and it's
the buildup of dogma. And the thing is, when you have so many influential, I don't want to use the word atheist incorrectly here or offend anybody. Do whatever you want. I don't give a crap. That's it. I really don't. I mean, have fun, enjoy life, study what you want to study, whatever your bliss is, and you want to go down that road, go. I honestly don't care.
Sure.
I'm flawed. I follow some stuff too that is pretty crazy. But here's the thing, that the rock stars that are out there in the scientific community want to now, because of the dogma that they have built up. They've built this wall of dogma. Now they can't step outside of it, even if they wanted to. You know, they can't.
And I think a lot of it is by design, in order to have key players in positions to play gatekeeper, and a lot of these institutions and schools and different groups. Even yesterday, Gary was talking about Nature and a couple of the other magazines, right? And how getting published in that is a big deal. And how, if he wanted to get something published, he could go get find another publication and get it going as well. And it seems like this whole process of, getting published in these certain things, peer reviewed, this whole thing. But we've seen time and time again, these media outlets can easily be bought and paid for. And, you can get a specific study pushed through, at whoever's got the idea of biased science is gone. We don't have that anymore on this planet. And we need to start, because of that, we need to stop looking at the gatekeepers and as the be all end all of what science is. And we need to start looking at the guys who are tinkering in the garage, and we need to look at what's actually being developed, and not turn our blind eye to some of these amazing discoveries, and start letting go of this idea that we need gatekeepers. I think the scientific community is great, but we don't need gatekeepers. That's what's got us in all this trouble.
Right. It goes both ways. But if we go back, let's go back. You go back 3,000 years. The dawning of philosophy, which came out of Egypt, by the way. It wasn't a Greek thing. The Greek were taught philosophy from the Egyptians. But back then, philosophy and science were one thing. It's now separated today, and if you can't get these two sides to cooperate at all, but if you want to see the most philosophical person on this planet, get Dawkins, get Neil deGrasse Tyson to go and have an ayahuasca ceremony.
That would be amazing.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Immediately, I might have been wrong on this whole thing.
Right.
But we've stepped away from that, right? Where, going back to the dogma, where that is built up. But if you are going to push down our throats quantum mechanics, quantum theory, theoretical physics, qubits, right? And entanglement and the multiverse and parallel worlds and 13 dimensions. If you're going to do that, you need to dip your toe in the spiritual water a little bit and see what's going on out there, because then you will start to think outside of that box.
And I think we're seeing that. I think we are seeing a lot of.
Dawkins hasn't done an ayahuasca ceremony yet, so no, we're not seeing that.
Well, not in those people, but we're seeing a new generation of scientists. Look at Nassim and what Robert Nassim and that group down there. Look at there's a lot of people that are coming out of that school, and that peering into these other worlds through a scientific lens, but listening to Jimmy Church every night, their minds are getting expanded and they're starting to think outside the box, and like, well, what if ETs and extra dimensional beings are coming here? Like, what would allow them to do that? How do we let's look into that. What are the possibilities? And we're seeing that. So where traditional scientific community just shuts it off right away and says, no, that they don't even exist. Why are we even looking? Or why are we even considering that a technology even exists that they could travel beyond this space and time to get here. So
Right.
it's kind of different camps. You have new camps that are younger generation of people that have had experiences or that are getting these messages, like a Nikola Tesla, and I think we've always had this, but it's gotten so stiff in the presentations and the way it's coming out that and so many people are so afraid to be shunned or shamed that they don't talk about it. They don't talk about their other downloads or they're channeling something, but I think over the years, that's always the way it's been. The most genius minds are tapping into something from the other side.
Yeah, I don't think that there's any question about that. And if we go back historically, I keep going back to Da Vinci. Either that dude was a time traveler, or he was talking to a time traveler, or he was channeling, because his stuff just didn't have a basis to it, right? And where normally, the iPhone or that wasn't this Steve Jobs invention. That's 100 years of evolution, coming down to that point and taking things to the next step where, the singular creations out there, the big steps, like a Da Vinci or whoever domesticated wheat, by the way, that must have been channeled and things, was a connection to a higher source. And if we today, where we are looking at the possibilities of string theory and 11 dimensions and pushing out past 4, right, and trying to get to a 5th dimension, and now 11, this is being done and has been done by many cultures for thousands of years, but there's this wall. When you look at Nolan and his comments last night, let's focus back on that.
Yeah,
he was saying exactly that. And where are the Nolans of academia out there? We've got Avi Loeb, right? We've got Harvard. We've got Stanford right now. These two huge institutions, but apparently we've got some very educated minds that are now willing to go against the grain. And you're right about that.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was great. I loved your guys' conversation last night, especially towards the end when you're starting to get into, multidimensional, multiverse type conversation, simulation theory. It does feel like a lot of the academia are going in that direction, which is awesome. And I think we'll get closer to contact and closer to understanding the wacky world of channeling, that the more the scientific community goes in that direction. So,
ayahuasca and channeling to me are it's two avenues getting to the same source, right?
Yeah.
I really mean that. Now, when the channel connection happens, right? Whatever this is, right? This always like an umbilical cord is how I visualize it. There's some kind of wormhole, quantum tunnel.
Well, you heard what Gary was working on yesterday, and he kind of let it slip a little bit. That he was working on some sort of trying to find some sort of, I think he said filament or something. He was trying to prove some sort of cord, like invisible cord coming out of the top of the head. Right? That was interesting.
Well, Sammy Hagar talked about that in his book, and when he talks about the download that he got from E.T. in his bed, it was an umbilical cord. Now, I don't think it was physical,
right?
It was energy, right? But
you could see it.
But yeah.
And we often hear from different intuitives and even this idea, aura readers and stuff that can see these cords, these silver cords that are attached to us individually, and then to different people in our our circles and whatnot. So these are unexplained things that are common in dialogue, but we didn't have a way to measure them. Maybe Gary's working on a way to measure that and prove that we have these unseen connections.
Well, we had the press release last week about the wormhole.
Oh, right. Yeah. I think that was what triggered it. Yeah. Triggered the conversation yesterday.
Yeah, it did. And now, theoretically, the math has supported this, but it's a whole other thing, to take it to, I keep saying it, man, to measure, right? That's always the big problem is measurement. But then if we take these ideas and these concepts and you go to, I'll just pick something, Donnie Darko.
Okay. Yeah. Great movie. Yeah.
Okay. Remember the party at the end? What happens? An umbilical cord pops out and connects them at the party. And I forget who is.
Is that the director's cut? I don't know if I saw that.
Man. No. It's tremendous. And I think Echo and the Bunnymen are playing in the background. It doesn't matter. But that, and I remember seeing that in the movie going, this is what everybody's been talking about. So it gets out there to the masses and they see it and they see these concepts. And then we have something that gets announced. You give science the idea, right? You give them the idea and eventually they're going to make it work. And we're starting to see that. Fusion, right? What a big announcement, right? You were talking about.
I was looking for that article. Was it?
It's everywhere. It's everywhere.
Okay. It's everywhere. Okay.
It's literally everywhere. So pick a media outlet. Pick one of the nasty ones like Fox or CNN, and it's right there. BBC. But it's all the announcement actually came. I think it was Department of Energy today made the announcement.
Oh, okay. I see it. Yeah. I guess you were right on top of that one yesterday.
I don't play.
You got your breaking news. So, but yeah, in a sense, again, fusion, back in the 80s we had cold fusion or room temperature fusion. The brothers. We've had this idea of it,
and constantly suppressed. Exactly. Suppressed. Hey, Reuben, stay right there. We're going to take a quick break. This is Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. I got to get this in. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black. Please visit all of our sponsors. We're taking a quick break here. All of the links are below. We'll be right back. Check out Billy Carson's Forbidden Knowledge. ForbiddenKnowledge.com or ForbiddenKnowledge.tv, where you can get access to over 6,000 videos, movies, TV series, exclusive documentaries like The Black Knight Satellite. You can do it all for just $7.77 per month or $77 per year after the 3-day trial, which is also totally free to check out. It's all simple to do. Billy Carson is the best. It's simple. ForbiddenKnowledge.com or ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. That's the number 4BK. I will be hosting and emceeing the Conscious Life Expo this February 10th through the 13th at the LAX Hilton right here in Los Angeles, California. 200 speakers, including Linda Moulton Howe, Bashar, Deborah King, George Norrie, Daniel Sheehan, Scott Walter Johnstone, and David Wolf. Over 200 vendors, special events. This is the biggest event of its kind on planet Earth. You've got to come and hang out with all of us. Tickets and info at ConsciousLifeExpo.com. The links are below. On Saturday, April 1st, that's right, April Fool's Day, 2023, I will be hosting the Parapod Festival at the Hyatt Regency right here in Valencia, California. It's a live one-day podcast awards. It's a film festival. It's a full-on media event. We're going to have sky watching. There's going to be a Lifetime Achievement Award presented to Linda Moulton Howe. Right now, you can submit your podcast, your film, your TV series, any of your paranormal media for consideration. You can do all of that on the links below. For info and tickets, go to parapodfilmfest.com. That's parapodfilmfest.com. April 7th through the 14th, 2023, I'll be hosting and presenting on the Hidden Secrets Seminar at Sea Cruise. From Los Angeles to the Mexican Riviera on the Navigator of the Seas. That's right, up top, a giant water slide. You've got to check out the Navigator of the Seas. It's amazing. We've got Scott Walter, Adam Apollo, Nick Pope, Brad Olson, Vivian Chauvet, Jason Shirka, Robert Grant, Reuben Langdon, and another 12 amazing speakers and presenters. It's all simple to do. Just visit divinetravels.com/Hidden Secrets 2023. You know you want to go on a cruise with me. River Moon Coffee, makers of the Fade to Black blend. Truly the best coffee on planet Earth. Just visit rivermoonwellness.com or their Amazon store. It's all simple to do. You can check out the Fade to Black blend, the Game Changer blend, or any of their Black Moon Wellness products. It's the only coffee I drink. It is the best, and it's Doc. Again, rivermoonwellness.com. All right, welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight, Reuben Langdon. He's the absolute very best. And Reuben, are you gonna jump on that water slide with me, man?
Yeah, I was just hearing that. Absolutely, totally gonna go on a water slide with you. Amazing.
I can't wait, man. I can't wait. The cruise is going to be amazing. It's going to be fantastic. All of that, the speakers and the knowledge, and and I get to goof around and do my thing and host and MC, and I'm going to do a presentation too as well. But dude, it's the water slide.
Well, I'm just excited to be out in the ocean with no lights and at night, and I plan to do some CE5s and
I'm going to bring my night vision as well on that, and I'm really looking forward to it. So everybody, just come hang out with Reuben and I. Guaranteed good time. And Reuben and I were talking. So this is what's really cool. Oh, so going down, Mazatlan and Cabo, coming back, we're doing 2-3 days at sea. That's going to be, man, I cannot wait for that. What were we just? I want to circle back.
We were going with like scientific community, nuclear fusion or fusion discovery that happened yesterday. Black holes.
Okay. Let's stay on fusion for a second, and I think that's where my mind was going anyway. Was that the talk in our community for a very long time has been recovered crashed retrievals, and backwards engineering and reverse engineering this technology, and that it's not necessarily the contact of ET that is going to freak people out if that's been suppressed. It's what technology have you been in possession of and have had knowledge of that could have helped this planet, could have heated our schools, you know what I mean? Plowed the fields, distribution of food, electricity, and everything else that could have benefited humanity, but you sat on it or tried to weaponize it, or maybe even did weaponize it. I think that is a really big deal. And the announcement of fusion in a weird way allows them to get around a couple of issues. Right? I'm being very serious.
Well, I agree. I think that, and going back to the AI conversation and quantum computing, I think that we will see ET come through AI before we actually have actual contact. I think first contact is through artificial intelligence. And once we get comfortable and we work out the kinks with giving AI rights and all of these other types of things that we have to work out as a human race, dealing with this new consciousness that's on the planet, then that opens the door for contact to happen. It might happen simultaneously. It might happen just a little bit staggered, but I feel that the AI conversation and the free energy conversation is right there at the cusp before actual contact. I feel that the ETs would probably want us. They're giving us these nuggets to play with, so we can work it out on a collective level and get any of the discrimination or harsh feelings, or all the stuff that humans still are dealing with before they actually show up and start hanging out with us.
Now, what about the race to this, where the two key things are happening at the same time? Free energy, right? Mm-hmm. Free, clean energy, like fusion, is one of the biggest, the ultimate achievements, period, right? And so there's that, and the country, the corporation, whatever, that achieves that first, because everything else goes away, right? Oil dependence and the squabbling, the wars, and the things that happen over that, and certainly the financial dependence that everybody has on it. And we know that when we go fill a gas tank, there's that. And then on the other side, it's the race to AI. Who can get to AGI first? Who can get to that first? Owns it all, right? And we're in a position, the United States, to maybe achieve both of these things at the same time. And if it happens, this is my point, and then we find out about ET later, the knowledge isn't going to freak anybody out, because we're already going to have fusion.
Exactly. I think before we even can get to that stage, talking about who owns it, right? That's another big issue, is ownership. And I think the reason it hasn't come out into our society and our reality in just yet is because everybody's trying to own it. You got the Bigelows trying to do their research and their thing, and you got the other, Invisible College and different governments and dark groups and secret societies and mystery schools and all these different groups and Illuminati groups or whatever. They're all fighting for who's going to control this thing. And I honestly think that it can't be owned by anybody. It has to be I love this buzzword that's being thrown around these days because of the advent of Bitcoin, but decentralization and the concept of that has really showed humanity where we need to go with things, with our financial system, with patents, owning patents, and how that whole mess has gotten us into a lot of trouble. And perhaps before we can see AI in a good way come and impact humanity, as well as free energy, perhaps we need to clean up how this whole idea around ownership. And I feel that the direction we're going with these concepts and ideas, and having talks about decentralization and for example, Bitcoin, a global economic reserve currency that's not attached to any one country. I think that's a step in the right direction. I think we're going in that direction in order to get us to the next steps, which would then free humanity from some sort of ownership.
It'll never happen. You know why?
I think it will, though. It's going that direction now.
You know why? If you can't control it, it's not going to happen. And that's one of the reasons why, if you look at something basic, you want to give the power to the people, you want to decentralize the monetary system. No, you can't take away that. No, it just won't. I would love for it to happen. If we look at something basic, and fusion is a consideration here, right? How do we have free, limitless, clean power and not be able to monetize it? So let's back up. Wait. No, it should be a gift to the world. It won't.
Yeah, absolutely.
Monetize it. And
because if it's on a decentralized platform, Web 3.0, then
it just won't. See, that's the thing. It should. It can't. I'll give you an example. You want clean power. You want clean. You want the ultimate limitless power. Hydrogen fuel cells.
Sure.
Right there.
Yeah.
Every car on this planet, every ship on this planet should have a hydrogen fuel cell in it.
Yeah, I won't debate that. Yeah.
And not only is it how limitless is it? Okay, hydrogen goes in and comes out as water. It starts as water, gets separated, oxygen and hydrogen. Hydrogen goes in, goes through the conversion, comes out of the exhaust pipe as steam. You can breathe it. I've done it.
Yeah.
I've done it.
Yeah.
I've done it.
No,
now,
that's awesome.
And it goes back into the system, goes back into the oceans, goes back into the clouds, recycles itself, limitless. Right? There's no way to monetize it.
Right. That's why it should be on a decentralized platform. It should be on a open to the world Web 3.0. We're moving in that direction. But we're moving in that direction. So the fact that we have these platforms now. We have the Bitcoin platform, and we have Ethereum, and we have later 2 and 3 solutions now that are being built on top of these platforms. So an entire internet, the Web 3.0, is right there at the cusp. It's being rolled out, and there's even talk of Elon taking Twitter open source and decentralized and moving it to a blockchain. And if that happened, then we truly do have a free speech platform. And if they can't censor the schematics for us building our own free energy devices, then that information goes out, and the entire world gets this information, and right away people go to town and start tinkering in their garages. They can't stop it. There's not going to be any single government or shadow government that's going to be able to stop what's coming. Yeah. And
I thought I had flowers hanging out of my pockets. You've got bouquets hanging out of yours. And look, I totally see that. I totally get it. And 1,000 years from now, we're going to evolve, we're going to mature, and we're going to get to that point. Is it going to happen in the next 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years? Nah, not as long as there's oil coming out of the ground. And as long as there's oil coming out of the ground, until that runs out, right? The last drop of oil, we're going to be stuck. We're going to be stuck.
I don't think so. I think follow the news channels and things that I follow. I see crazy innovation when it comes to blockchain and sort of these different using the blockchains in a innovative way that sort of circumvent the old ways of centralized ways of doing things. And I can see it. I can see it happening definitely within in the lifetime. The next 10, I'd say give it 10 years. I'd say let's have this conversation, 2033, if we're still around, because who knows what's going to happen between then now. But yeah, I feel within the next 10 years, these are quite possible realities where the world has a decentralized Web 3.0. Information is not censored, cannot be censored. And we have, again, this is also part of the evolution that we were going to before about the individual finding the frequency to channel in these higher dimensional beings. We as a human race need to raise our frequency so we can then channel in the this information and channel in the awareness and the responsible use of these free energy technologies. Because I totally agree. Most of this technology, even the hydrogen stuff, can be easily converted to make weapons. So we have to be able to have the maturity to not weaponize it and to use it in a way that's going to be beneficial for communities and individuals and collective communities and planet Earth as a whole. Yeah, but we'll get there.
Yeah, the whole crypto idea. Right, the philosophy behind it, it's awesome. It's awesome. But right now, the entire industry and every exchange, is run by those that probably don't have a foundation for this, and to understand. And when you look at the collapse of when you go from a $60,000, $70,000 valuation on Bitcoin to today, what is it, $17,000, and you look at the millions and millions of people that lost it all. And what is going on, what's it, SBF or whatever his name is, just got arrested in the Bahamas. And you're looking at, $10 billion that vaporized. We don't have a control of the blockchain and how these cryptocurrencies are done.
No, we do actually, though. It's all open source. We know exactly where the money is.
Okay, well, $10 billion vaporized. And
it vaporized, but not because of the blockchain.
Wait a minute. Yeah. It's because of not understanding it, and to allow. I'm talking about us, everybody else, to allow individuals to go and start another company and loan and create a crypto and a new coin over here, and you're taking an investor's money out and moving it over and loaning it, and then all of a sudden $10 billion is just gone. That's the part that, until we understand what is actually going on here, because it's not a mature mindset that is in control of this. That's a very very serious thing when you have people going in and not understanding what crypto is, or how to keep your money, or how to move it, or how to store it, or do any of that, where you go to an exchange to take your money out, whatever, or to take a coin or whatever, and you can't, because there's nothing there, because some doofus and a group of doofuses, right? No.
They're actually pretty smart people that did that. They're playing doofus right now, but they're part, MIT graduates. So that whole debacle and everything. So if you look at it, though, if you look at Bitcoin where it was at just below 19,000. It was at 19 when the FTX debacle happened. We were at 19, and up until that point, there were no real signs that showed that FTX. We had Terra Luna, we had some other issues, but then Celsius, Terra Luna. When the FTX went under, it went from 19 down to 16. So, and you're right, $10 billion, the guy just blew away. But that didn't, when you look at the scope of things, that didn't really affect the price of Bitcoin that much.
I don't care about the price of Bitcoin. I care about the people that lost it all.
They didn't lose it. They swindled it. Definitely, we'll find out where it's at. But
the individuals that have been locked out of their account, and the money is no longer.
I was one of those, by the way. I lost money in the FTX debacle.
That just pisses me off, man.
Well, it pisses me off too. But at the same time, when you look at, it's a big. I was on Kim's show earlier today, talking about the same thing. But this whole debacle is a big wake-up call to, yes, we need to be more diligent with where we put our money, custodial. There's the big phrase, not your keys, not your coins. So just knowing that every single exchange, I don't care who it is or how much of integrity that person is, all the exchanges are traps. So if you're going to get into the crypto space, you need to know not your keys, not your coins, and make sure you have, a cold storage or a paper wallet or something that you can keep your coins on, and don't keep them on these exchanges, because yes, it's all just like we saw with the Sam Bankman goofiness, the SBF stuff. It's all a scam, and will continue to be a scam as this space matures. It needs to mature. It needs these.
That's my point. But that's 100% my point, because I don't know about you, and you may be flush and you may be liquid and you're emotionally disconnected from all of this, because money doesn't matter. But for somebody that bets the farm and they go in and they've bought 2 or 3 or 4 Bitcoins at 60,000 a pop, and they're into this now for $250,000, and they've lost $230,000
if they cashed out.
And they're sitting on 3 coins right now.
Okay, good.
A year later, worth 15 grand each.
Right.
That sucks, and you're going to feel that pain, especially if you mortgaged. You're out. To get that money. A lot of people did do.
These are the lessons that. So it's not the crypto industry is not the problem. It's all the other industries around that are built around it. The traditional financial system. This idea that I'm going to go mortgage my house so I can take out a second mortgage on my house so I can go buy some Bitcoin. That's just immature and irresponsible. And we have a monetary.
I know, but these are very smart people that have made these decisions.
Well, again, this is because they're used to a monetary policy that encourages that kind of activity. We live in a debt-based society, and taking out debt to make a quick buck or to gamble it's sort of like that's the norm. We need to be teaching responsible monetary policies, and number one, first and foremost, are the U.S. dollar and the Ponzi scheme that's being with the Federal Reserve and all of that stuff. To me, that's way more volatile, especially now that we're seeing the Sam Bankman feeds, and we're seeing the Democratic Party, and we're seeing billions getting sent to Ukraine that are barely even being voted on. Taxpayer money's getting thrown here and thrown there without any proper congressional oversight. We're seeing the Ponzi scheme is falling apart, and I think again, Bitcoin is an option. Gold, silver are great, but we're seeing how irresponsible policies, and not in the sense that everything needs to be regulated. It's the individual. It's how we're handling life. Like
it's accountability and it's ethics.
It's accountability.
No doubt about it.
So what all this is teaching us is sovereignty and independence, and how to understand how not to rely on an exchange or a bank, or how do we take our personal power back, and how do we do it from an individual place instead of leaving, again, going back to the scientists and the keys, who has the keys to these other worlds. Same with the channelers. We all can be our own channelers. We don't need these gatekeepers.
Let me give you an example, though, and this is the part that freaks me out. You can blockchain this conversation all day long, and I believe in it. Okay, I do. But I go 2 years ago. Okay, let's say 2 years ago, a year ago, and I've got a pile of Bitcoins, whole, not pieces, right? I got whole Bitcoins, right. And I go and I buy a Lamborghini, right? And I buy one for $250,000, and I plop down 5 Bitcoins, right? That dealer takes those 5 Bitcoins, and today he has lost $200,000 in his business because of how
if he cashed out.
Wait. Okay. You can't if that. I'm talking about facts. Okay. Hard dollars. So that dealer who has got to pay his employees, he's got to pay the electricity, he's got to pay the health insurance, he's got to do all of that, losing on one vehicle $200,000. But if I went to him and I cut him a check in dollars, he's able to keep the lights on. So until we figure that out, no matter what, the Ponzi scheme that is a dollar is stable, fluctuates up and down a percentage point here and there. Sure. Bitcoin has not shown us that. And so that's
we need mass adoption.
I look, I can go and buy food to live with a stable dollar. I can't do that with Bitcoin, and I can't do that at the supermarket, where the supermarket is going to go, man, next week this could be worthless. But that's not the same thing. Now, look, the other
for the U.S. For the U.S., that's the truth. What you just said for the U.S. is the truth. Now, in Nigeria or in El Salvador and other countries where they have, I shouldn't say El Salvador now, but where you have other,
they lost their shirt on Bitcoin. How many?
No, but they actually have gained tons. If you look at their, if you look at how much their GDP has exploded because they've made Bitcoin legal tender. And
but didn't they lose $250 million in the last 6 months on Bitcoin?
Exactly. Yeah, they did lose that, but
I saw the reports on that.
Their GDP is actually much, much higher than that. So if you look at all the outside investments that came in because they made Bitcoin legal tender, they actually have, their economy is booming. Nigeria now, because their country is inflating their money, I forget what they go by, but they're using Bitcoin out of survival. Now they have to use Bitcoin to buy food and things because their local currency keeps getting inflated out of the yin yang, and they're not having any kind of stability there. So their go-to stable choice, even though for us in the dollar system, it's not stable at all, but it is more stable for them. Bitcoin's more stable than their currency. Same with Turkey and other countries that their countries are printing money like crazy. Our country's doing it as well, but not as much as some of these other countries. So you look at it from their perspective, and Bitcoin is the smarter choice. And they're naturally doing that. Even though in Nigeria, Bitcoin is banned, they're still using Bitcoin under the table, so to say, to buy groceries. Literally, they're using it's more used than their local currency.
I bet you they love dollars there too as well.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
But so and back to my point, until we wrestle control of this and understand it's too young. There are too many issues with it. It's too early to embrace the blockchain and what
it's been around 13 years.
And look what happened.
That's still doing actually. So
if it's got a nice stable line without these, these shysters coming in and pumping and selling and dropping, until we have a nice stable line that is consistent, it's not yet. It is the future. It is, but it's
all how you look at it. It's all how you look at it in perspectives. Because if you look at the Bitcoin charts.
I do. And you know what's really funny to me, Reuben? Dude, I look at all the charts. I look at all of, I'm reading about Bitcoin all the time. I'm reading all these financial and all of that, based on, and I'm reading these based on what? Based on what? There is nothing. There is no history. There isn't anything consistent. There isn't any way to predict the future. It is completely unstable. And to say, when I see these, Bitcoin in a year, we're looking at, looking at a market cap of about 150,000 per coin, and if we stop with that, that is all black magic, pipe dream stuff. Nobody knows. Otherwise, we would have known that Bitcoin, look, last year, Bitcoin was supposed to be $200,000 right now.
Well, that depends who you talk to.
Wait, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Nobody last year said that Bitcoin would be $15,000 in December 2022. There wasn't anybody feeding that. Not a single. I've got financial investors, man. I've got them telling me, and if I go back and listen to their advice from a year ago to where it is right now, nobody was talking that, and not a single one. So,
and in your investor, people talk about 4-year cycles or anything like that.
There is no 4-year cycle in anything. Okay, if you want to talk to me about a 4-year cycle, and not in Bitcoin. No, No, there's not. You've got Bitcoin for 13 years. You look at that, right? So you got this belt.
It's a consistent. If you look at it, I'm looking at the charts from
$17,000 is what it is.
I'm looking at the charts from a long time ago. So if you look at the beginning to now, we're in a constant curve that's going up. It still hasn't. There's a long drawn out curve that goes up, and we're still in the up. Now, I bought Bitcoin back in 2013 for $700. I'm still in the good on this. Mm-hmm. So, anyways, let's not even think about the monetary value. Let's go. The whole reason I brought up Bitcoin in the first place was because we have a decentralized network of computing power and there's layer 2 solutions like the Lightning Network and others that we can put on this network. It's a computing machine, right? So we can put information on this network and others, like especially the Ethereum network with smart contracts, and we can use it as the new internet in a sense.
That's the part that I love about the blockchain, where you can historically memorialize everything that you need done. Everything that you need done. And that goes from, talking about car dealerships, right? But that contract goes in. Whatever it is that you need to lock in, but forget about a Xerox copy and putting something in your filing cabinet, which you should do that too anyway. But that's the beauty of the blockchain. And it is IP, it's protection of ideas, it's protections of patents, it's sharing of information, all of that part of the blockchain, genius, man. Yeah, genius.
As long as it remains decentralized. Now, this is the key point, because we're about to face, and this is part of the FTX debacle. And Janet Yellen came out right on cue that we have to regulate cryptocurrencies, and oh, by the way, we're going to release the Federal Reserve is going to release the Fed coin, which is a centralized digital currency. Now, that is complete tyranny. That is complete. You talk about, look at China and look at the social credit system that's going on in China. So not all blockchains are the same. I just wanted to make sure we know that there's a difference. Blockchain technology is an amazing technology, but it can be like a hammer. It can be used to destroy and tyrannize and terrorize and take people's power away if it's in a centralized form, or if it's in a decentralized form like Bitcoin or some of these others, then it doesn't, then freedom is there and we can choose. So that is, going. And the reason I brought that up is, again, as a delivery system to get concepts and ideas like free energy out, this might be the way it could happen as a potential. And it feels like we're moving into that understanding and reality. And there's a lot of really smart people on the planet right now that are seeing the value of decentralized systems. And that's my main Bitcoin argument. The price and all that stuff. Yeah, we'll go in circles around that forever. But
we need to have open dialogue about it. This is how people communicate and
totally.
And
I agree.
Their ideas, even though I'm right and you're wrong. But that's but
okay, whatever.
You know what the crazy part about this is, and this is everybody. This is how two friends talk.
Absolutely.
You just got to talk through things. But one of my fears is that I love this thing, right? And the technology that it represents, but I don't want to be locked in with a situation where I run out of gas. I'm on the side of the road. I don't have any cash in my pocket, and my money's here, and I can't call a tow truck because I don't have cash on me, or whatever. There's you need gas. It's cash. Whatever. There's that. But I also don't want to be that guy sitting on the ground, outside of a 7-Eleven, and somebody walking past me. And going, how'd you get here? They shut me off.
Right.
And that's where China is.
Yeah.
Right. That's where China is. You get this
exactly where China is.
Yeah. And you are cut off from your money, your Bitcoin, the blockchain, whatever. And this, because that's where cash is king.
Absolutely.
Right? Where now, so let me give you an example.
Mm-hmm.
If this is turned off, I can't even Venmo somebody money.
Yep. Totally.
Right? Do you understand what I'm saying? I can't.
Oh, I'm with you with cash is king. I think where Bitcoin has its place, and I think there always will be, government currencies, and I'm not trying to dog on that too much. I think Bitcoin, what it does is it keeps our governments in check, and they know if they push too hard, then people will go into the Bitcoin camp, and they'll lose out on some of their ways of doing things. I think if we lose cash, then Bitcoin is the obvious choice. But as long as we can keep cash and we can keep, some sort of non-governmental totally owning everything we do, I think the system works now. But unfortunately, we have these cronies in power that are wanting more power and more control, and they're moving very fast in a direction that is not healthy for humanity and for freedoms and liberty. However, simultaneously, because they're putting the squeeze on everybody, all this amazing innovation is coming out. So that it's a double-edged sword, and we're seeing it play out and how it's going to play out. We don't know, like you said, we don't know the future. Is Bitcoin going to succeed? I don't know. It may not. Something else better may come along. We may be able to navigate through this, and we get some better politicians in there that aren't so hell-bent on taking away every little ounce of freedom that humanity has in America. Then maybe we'll navigate it and it'll be okay. I was just throwing that out there as, again, decentralization. This is sort of the buzzword, and this is key with how we navigate the spaces in the future, because we are in this this dangerous area in our evolution where we have the gatekeepers, and we're giving our power to them, and they're not taking care of us. They're not taking care of the little guy.
Here's the real issue. Okay, I'm just going to tell you the real issue. Conversations about Bitcoin, decentralization, and all of this, it's fantastic, but it only matters if you're on the internet. There are 8 billion people on this planet. 4 billion have never heard of Bitcoin. 4 billion are not on the internet. 4 billion are digging in garbage heaps in India and Brazil and throughout Africa that are not on the internet and are not concerned about contact with ET and are not concerned about Bitcoin. They haven't even heard about these issues. They don't know what Facebook is, and so until that conversation shifts where Bitcoin or a blockchain benefits the other 4 billion people on this planet that are the have-nots, not the haves. They don't have a cell phone. They don't have a bank account. That you know what lightens up their day, brightens their day? Cash. So they can go and buy something to eat for their family. And so until it benefits that half of the world, we've got issues. We've got issues.
We do. We have a ton of issues, and I think that's where the focus needs to be. And going back to our original conversation on the free energy stuff, it's how do we get this out? We know it exists because we know the ETs. We've seen through your experiences, my experiences, and many of your listeners are seeing and experiencing things that we know defy physics. They have some
check this out.
Yes, digital dollars.
Oh man.
Very good, very good.
Yeah, thank you for that, Ken. He did that to make a point, but I
Yeah,
think, Ken. Yeah.
yeah. No, I'm all about the digital dollars. The the issues that plague humanity are, first and foremost, it comes down to energy, the basic necessities, food, like you said, food, shelter, energy. How do we power our homes? How do we power our cars? And we know the UFO topic is the smoking gun to that issue, to that problem. And that's in our community. That's, when I first got into ufology, that was the first big question that comes up, and it's talked about, and it's been the same thing I've been talking about for over a decade, is how do you tap into those energy sources? How do you change the human paradigm, scientific limited paradigm on energy? And that's really where the conversation should be going, and that's why I brought it in that direction, and I brought up the whole Bitcoin thing again.
And you're right about you're right about all of that. And so what the SAMs of the world, the SBFs of the world, and there are others. That dude, he had a $16 billion life just a month ago. Right. And so when we look at, and I know I'm kicking a dead horse here, but when we look at somebody like Elon Musk or Bill Gates or Zuckerberg or Bezos and others, right? They're not the only ones that could, if they wanted to, just step up and take care of business. The 4 billion people on this planet could be taken care of. Nobody does it. And that's until we take care of that. I don't want to sound like I'm some awakened, consciousness driven, some hippie from 1970. I don't want to sound like that. But I've been to third world countries, man, and I've seen the crazy, and you witness that, and there's a certain amount of guilt that goes along with it. Sure. But the other part is when they say the streets are paved with gold here, and we go, no, they're not. You know what? Yeah, they are. And if you are going to spend your time on Twitter flaming and trolling, and you have the ability to do that, then don't talk to me about having morals or anything else when the rest of the world doesn't have that ability and or understand. That they don't know what SpaceX is. They don't know what Starlink is. They don't know. If they may not even know what a McDonald's is. And that's the part. Until we think about the other 4 billion out there, I don't.
Well, we are thinking about the other 4 billion when we're having these conversations. When we're talking about freeing humanity from the enslavement that it's in, the energy paradigm, the monetary paradigm. The more we have these conversations, the more we educate ourselves and we educate the audiences out there to understand that there are alternatives, that it doesn't have to be run this way. Most people, especially in the third worlds, they only see the almighty dollars because of the situations that they're in, sort of not having the essentials. They're just focused on, like you said, how do I put food in my mouth? So that for them to have this wider perspective, it's not up to them. It's up to us who can have the conversation to spread the awareness, and for us to continue to do the deep dive, do the search, figure out in our private times. Like I spend a lot of my time researching and trying to find, as you do with the energy paradigm, and trying to figure out, okay, how close are we, or who do I know that can maybe do something? What is Nassim up to in his lab? How far are we from these discoveries? And then how do we educate as many people as that we can to know that it's even possible,
Mm-hmm.
get the scientific community, get their heads out of their butts,
Mm-hmm.
and to get them into thinking out of the box. So these new inventions and these new ways of doing things can then make it to those third world countries, so we can allow those people so food isn't the first thing that they're focused on.
Every day is survival.
Every day is survival.
Every day is survival. And this is what frustrates me, man. When I can do it right now. I can do it right now. I can open up my phone. I can go to Twitter. I can go to my home feed, right? And I'll click on this, and there'll be a tweet in here from Elon. I'm just scrolling down. That'll say
he says my pronouns are
right. Who gives a crap? It's the most insane.
We'll prosecute Fauci. I think those are great pronouns.
But yeah. And that the richest guy in the world, right? The richest guy in the world that feels that those words, that his time to broadcast that is valuable, important. No, and that's the crazy part. It's like he thinks it's important, right? And it's
in a sense it is, though. I mean, the Twitter files have been huge for
who gives a crap.
I would say all the moms and all the people and all the victims of pedophilia out there are really excited about.
Okay, you can play that card if you want, and it should be important, and it is important, no question about it. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is we need to worry about today, the now, and tomorrow. That's what those people out there that are starving, that are wondering how they're going to stay warm enough and their kids to survive through a night. That's important. That's important. What the tweeting and flaming and this and that and it's not important. It's truly not. You know what's important?
It depends, though, because these Twitter files are super huge. Like, do
those Twitter files or anything else build a school in Zimbabwe? No, they don't. And
maybe they don't, because we don't need any more schools in Zimbabwe. Maybe the whole schooling system is been throwing us down the wrong direction in humanity's evolution. Maybe we need to unschool the kids in Zimbabwe and give them an alternative that's not the same traditional Rockefeller-built school system that has imprisoned and kept humanity from expanding all these years. So, there is validness to what Elon is doing with Twitter right now. I think it's amazing what he's doing with Twitter. I think the exposures and of the corruption that's gone through our political systems and through our social media systems, I think it has a lot of merit and a lot of weight. So and it could very well go to affect kids in Zimbabwe and in the future of humanity. I know Twitter may not seem much for many people, but right now it's the only free speech platform. It's the largest free speech platform we have now, where before we had to go to BitChute or DTube, Rumble, these other places that never really took off because collective humanity is looking at Twitter. So Twitter is an amazing space right now that we can share and disseminate information. And I can talk now about free energy and not worried about getting censored. Yeah.
And I see that part of it. And for me, I don't let Twitter affect me. Right.
Well, that's good. Yeah, we shouldn't let Twitter affect us. I agree with that.
I use it. I use it the way that I am able to adapt. I use Twitter like it's my own company. I own it, and so I use it for this show to communicate, to spread the word about my guests that are coming on the show, like you, and that's it. Yeah, I milk it, man. I use it for everything that it's worth. for me, like it's my own platform. Everything else, no, I don't let it affect me. I don't care.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's the healthy view. That's the best way to do it. And I think there are. I hear what you're saying. There's a lot of people out there that are, I saw some meme today. Somebody was getting affected because these meat emojis were getting pushed, and I guess they were vegan or something. So they were, and I used to be a vegan, but they were crying because Apple won't take the meat emojis away. That's the ridiculous stuff that we're seeing on Twitter. That doesn't matter. And yes, I agree with your comment that Twitter doesn't mean anything, especially in that sense. But there's for the most part, Twitter is meaningless. But there is some interesting things that are happening of late, recently. That since Elon took over, I do think Twitter has a space now. Like it's more meaningful now these past couple of weeks than it ever has been.
And I'll never know.
Yeah.
I'll never know. It's a zone that I personally don't go into, and I don't want to be callous or cavalier about this. I understand the importance and things. What I don't enjoy is the ability for people to fight in another level that they would never do, and I know that ever. Right, where I know, like I'm speaking as fact. When somebody is tweeting something negative, I don't know that person. I don't know what their background is. I don't know what their personal thing is. I don't know if their dog died that day. I don't know anything about them or their personal life. But I can say with a pretty good amount of confidence that they wouldn't come over to my house as a guest and say those things.
Right.
Yeah. They wouldn't go to their parents' house and sit down at dinner and go, oh, yeah, well, you know what? No, I just don't think that they would.
Social media in general. Yeah, it's created this weird disconnect.
It's affected people's minds. And then people read that and then they are affected by it.
Yeah.
And that's the part that, the sharing of information. Yeah. Personal attacks and
that's all
you would never do in public,
right?
That's not how I was raised,
that's part of this maturity that humanity needs to sort of, these are the growing pains through these new technologies and different platforms, and we've had crazy past couple of years of just what a whirlwind we've been through when it comes to our social media spaces, the media in general. Thank God for Fade to Black for having some sort of decent conversations every night where we can come in and tune in.
See, and what we're doing here, this is beautiful, right?
Totally.
Anyway, this is beautiful.
We're definitely in agreement on that. I just think there's a lot of potential and I'm not full in on Elon too. I'm like, hey, we got it. This guy, he's got the Neuralink thing that's going. That's transhumanism.
Owns Starlink and owns the rockets. Space. That's a lot of control, man.
There's a lot of control, and talk about decentralization. Got a very weary eye on where this whole Twitter thing goes, and if he does it, if he does what he's sort of has hinted, that takes it and goes blockchain and decentralization with it, and that I'm super fan then. But until then, I'm going to be watching very. I
know. Let me chime in here. I'm a huge Elon fan. Everybody knows it. Everybody's here, but I'm also not stupid, right? Okay, so here's the thing. Just 2 years ago, 3 years ago, a year ago, Elon, AI is more dangerous than nuclear weapons. Right? Okay. All right. Okay. Now let's stop and unpack that statement for a second, because the guy that said that not only owns Starlink and owns the rockets to put those satellites in space, owns an AI-driven robot that he's getting ready to sell in your house. He's developing Neuralink chips to put into your head, right? To access the internet, and now owns an AI-driven, bot-driven social media platform, and now has all the components and to share that AI. Now AI is not so bad to Elon, but the warnings that he gave. So now, is it hypocrisy? Is it a hypocritical thing? Or is there something else here where now the richest man in the world owns everything to be Skynet? And so when you talk about decentralized, well, actually, he is the most centralized, controlling figure in the history of mankind. So what do we now? And I don't think
I wouldn't say history of mankind, but pretty close. I think the U.S. government is.
No, there's nobody. Jesus Christ didn't have this kind of power.
Google has quite a little bit.
I'll tell you what Google doesn't have. They don't have Tesla. I'll tell you what Google doesn't have. They don't have SpaceX. I can tell you what Google doesn't have. They don't have Twitter. And Google, obviously, right? Android, Google, Chrome. I'm not dumb, but it's not Elon power.
Right. Yeah.
And so when we're talking about a decentralized system right now, he has wrestled control of the planet. And
very concerning.
It's a frightening thing. And nobody, and because it is a worldwide situation right now with Elon, there isn't one single country that can step in. This isn't a United States thing. It's not even a China thing. It's not. Nobody can do anything right now because of how he has absolutely dominated each sphere that he has stepped into. To the point of, self-driving cars. Dude, he owns the lithium industry, batteries. Yeah. I mean, it's just like everything. Very smart, man. Very smart.
Super smart. And I agree. We definitely need to keep a watchful eye on him and his operation, and just be as educated through, having the view that you have and being cautious. I'm loving what he's doing, but I think most of us are like, okay, where's this all going? Let's see where this goes. So I'm with you there. I'm totally with you.
But who has the juice? Really? Who has the juice to step in and say, this is too much? Is the answer nobody?
I think the people. I think when the people, and I think he knows this. I think that's why he got Twitter and got he's getting the people, and he knows where he's. When you own a social media company, you have all the algorithms, and you can see the sort of the pulse on where people are at with their thinking and whatnot. So he's playing. As most of the social media operators, they have it's like I'm sure they have whole offices filled with psychologists that are reading all the reactions and algorithms and how people are, you put this out there, how people are going to react to that. So I'm sure he's doing his research on that sense, on how we're all reacting and taking all this information in, and hopefully he just continues to go where the people are going and where the people want to go. But if that turns at any point, then we all need to make sure we're not drinking the Elon Kool-Aid and get sucked into the cult, the Elon cult.
Have you look, man, you're from Hollywood, right? You've done all that you can. You understand AI and video games and these concepts. You get all of that. That's what that's your foundation, and that's what I love about you. But have you seen a set of software called Satellite Map. Okay, write that
I
down.
don't think so.
I
Yeah.
like your reaction to that. Just write that
Okay.
down. Satellite Map. It's an unbelievable.
I think I have seen this. Yeah, it's crazy the number of satellites in orbit.
And you can look at every single aspect that you want to look at. You can look at obviously orbits and altitudes. You can do that, but you can go down to the individual level of the satellite, what it is, who owns it, and so forth. But and what is active and what is inactive. It's a brilliant. It's one of the best things on the internet. Period. But when you just go to Satellite Map and start looking at Starlink, and you look at what is going on right now with Starlink, don't be fooled when we take these ideas and these concepts and we go to Hollywood and we talk about Skynet and Terminator and everything else, and that it's science fiction, it'll never happen, but the warning signs are there and everything. Go look at Satellite Map and look at Starlink and what it represents right now. It's insane. It's insane. It's insane. And he owns it.
Yep.
He owns the distribution network. He's got the rockets. He's got SpaceX and every other component of the craziest science fiction nightmare that you can put together in your mind. It's done. The whole system is complete, all the way down to Neuralink. And did you see his presentations 2 months ago? You can look at it on the internet. Him introducing his robot comes out.
Oh yeah, Optimus.
Right? You saw that?
Yeah,
right?
Yeah,
that? Dude. They're
crazy.
How much? Like, oh my God! All the way down to self-driving cars.
Yep.
Man, Reuben, you're the best, man, and I can't wait. We're going to be hitting the high seas here pretty soon. We're going to go out and do that. What's up next for you? The next movie, the next series. What's going on?
I'm working on a series right now. It's called Quest of the Crystal Skull. And we've been following Skull Keeper Bill Holman around for the past couple of years, my buddy Steve and I, and it's been a wild journey. We're deep in editing right now, and I've got some stuff to share in a presentation on the cruise, sort of around ancient civilizations and this wild world of crystal skulls and different artifacts that sort of confirm legends of Atlantis and Graham Hancock's work. It all correlates in with that, and so and Robert Grant's work. It's gonna be fun to have him and Adam on the cruise as well. I think it'll be a good time. But yeah, that's been taking up most of my time, is this crystal skull project,
which you've been. I remember talking to you about this 2 years ago.
Yeah, I know. It's been going on.
So
we got 13 episodes now. It was going to be a film, and then 3-part film, and then now we're at like a 13 episode miniseries.
Thank you.
Not even miniseries; it's a full series.
Look at this comment right here. Hold on for a second. Not that one. Have a good time, Reuben. Good show. Is this one? I feel like Jimmy's trying to incite censorship. Damn it. Oh man!
No, you're good. These are great conversations.
It's just that, man. All I want is everybody to just keep your eyes open and don't go all in. Don't go all in with anything. Don't go all in on the dollar. Don't go all in on Bitcoin. Don't go all in on Twitter. Don't go all in on the internet. Don't go all in on conspiracy theory. Don't go all in on me or Reuben. I wouldn't trust Reuben for
as far as you could throw me, right? What you said earlier too. We were talking about. I think even before we got on the show, you were like talking about all these different people and different ideas and concepts getting thrown at you, and you said, you know who I believe, and I was like, who do you believe? You said, I believe me, and I was like, that's the best answer you could give, And I hope your audience can take that they also should believe in themselves and be discerning with everything. And I think your advice, and I love your platform and your show and your message, because even though we may not agree on everything, I do agree 100% with that, is that everybody should be believing in themselves.
Believe in yourself.
And be discerning. And especially in my world of channeling and different things, absolutely be discerning in that world, because that's a really crazy, wonky world of all kinds of stuff.
I love you, man.
Not go all in.
Be safe and be well. I got to get up. I got to get up your way and hang out and loosen up my head a little bit.
Yeah,
and
we'll come up, hang out in the sleep.
I know. It's all there. I'll talk to you, Reuben. Behave and be well, man.
Thank you, Jimmy. Always a pleasure.
You're the best. Reuben Langdon. ReubenLangdon.com. It's all simple. Links are right there. Just a great mind and a great friend. Thank you so much, Reuben. What another great show. That's how you do it. If I can project one thing to my friends out there in the world, just communicate and talk. You can learn something from everybody. Hopefully, Reuben got something from me tonight a little bit. Fade to Black is produced by Hill J. Palm, Renee, Dennis, and Kevin. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Music, Doug Aldrich. Intro, Spaceboy. SpaceboyMusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network. This broadcast is owned and copyrighted 2022 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network, Inc. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tomorrow night, right here, Jason Shurka. Woo, man. Until then, everybody be safe. Go back, Lee Tappy.